What's up, Buck Doug with D&E in the garage. So, went out to do an oil change the other day. Some jabroni had put an 899 filter in an 090 box. So I get home and the filters are dimensionally the same size, but the threaded portion on the inside is different. So this one was useless. Probably could have returned. It made a hole stinked. I figured instead, let's cut it open on the internet and see what the heck's inside. I've cut open Fram filters before. I've cut open K&N filters before. I figured let's see what's inside one of these bad boys and how it may stack up against what we are expecting. Also kind of go over the anatomy of an oil filter. So as you can see, I'm already halfway into her here. First thing you're going to notice is this O-ring. Anybody who's ever been taught how to change oil knows when you pull an old filter off, you make sure you still have the O-ring, because if you double gasket, you will leak. I actually did that on my 4-liter one time when I was just a wee lad. So let's figure out what types of implements of destruction we're going to need to get into this thing and try to get at it. Yep. I don't know if y'all can hear the chainsaw in the background. Uncle Jerry's making a heck of a ruckus, but oh, the show must go on. Alright, let's see. Now it looks like there's a little lip down there. That's probably what's defeating me. Come on. Give me the stuff. Getting close though, I think. Hell if I know. Oh yeah, Yahtzee. Ha! There she goes. All right. So right off the hop here, here's your threaded bit. We've got a nice rubber kind of like spacer. It looks like keeps the main element off of the bottom plate there. Here's your actual filter. Not gonna lie, this looks a lot like the Fram one I took apart. A couple more ribs, but they're not as rigid as I would have expected to see. Up top here you got a spacer, and then Uncle Jerry's new beer mug over here. We'll put that aside. As you can see, this is just a very typical cardboard filter material that is folded in the appropriate design, and then it's just glued to these top pieces here. It's like a rubbery type glue. I don't know how well you guys can see in there. Let's see if we can't separate this top piece from the rest. I want to try to keep it at least a little intact so we can see what it all looks like. If we can get it off in one piece, that'd be awesome, without putting a chisel through the palm of my hand, of course. Always a plus. This is just super chintzy tin, but I guess it doesn't need to be any heavy duty than that. Anything down here worth seeing? Let's try to pull this other side off as well. There we go. So here's your whole filter mechanism. I don't know if you've ever dealt with one of the German cars do this a lot. They don't mess with all this crap. They just, this is what you put into a cylinder in the engine. And when you see it all broken down, I guess it makes sense why mess with this external housing. Though these tend to be difficult to get to. Everyone I've ever done was on some crazy VW or something, and it was real difficult to get to. I recognize that chainsawing has to be super distracting in the background. There's like no chance the mic isn't picking it up. See if we can get this. Yeah, this comes right out. So they're not glued to this. Yeah, literally they just build this filter unit. They slide this in for some support. They rubber cement it, not rubber cement. I don't know what this is. It's some kind of rubber glue, very pliable. I imagine super heat resistant. And inside here there's a spring, and I don't remember exactly what the purpose there is. So we're gonna cut into it and find out. Alrighty. So, come on. Oh, spring disappeared. Okay. So, here is the spring. Now, yeah, okay. This is another rubber. If I'm not mistaken, this down here is the mechanism put in place for in case this gets so clogged that oil cannot flow through it anymore. I believe if pressure builds to a certain point, it somehow blows out this rubber ring in here that I can't really get at, and allows oil to come in and then directly flow out through these holes down there. The only thing blocking off these holes from the rest of the filter is this rubber gasket here, and I guess this spring is there just to keep that down, keep pressure on it so that oil doesn't take the path of least resistance, come in, travel under here, and go right out. This spring helps keep that nice and tight. But if the pressure builds to a certain point, it will allow oil to come in and then escape directly through these holes so that you don't seize up your motor just because you forgot to do an oil change. So let's recap from top to bottom. Here we have our oil filter. Very first thing you notice on the bottom, this is the gasket or O-ring that helps it seal against the block of the engine. You have to make sure that when you remove your old one, it comes with it so that you don't double gasket. Immediately you get inside. Up top, there's a little spring. This is to keep this all tight within the system. That's the only purpose. Alright. After that, we have the actual filter assembly, which is kind of stuck to this bottom mounting piece via this rubber piece that has many purposes. Go over that in a second. Inside of this, you got two tin caps surrounding a just very generic paper filter. Inside the paper filter is a ring to give it some structure. Down here, you have a spring contained inside this little metal dome. The spring is pushing on this rubber, I don't really want to call it a gasket, this rubber bit. This rubber bit is guarding these holes. These are relief holes so that if your paper gasket gets so clogged or something else happens that oil can no longer flow in and flow out, it will overcome the tension of this spring, allow oil to go beneath this and out these holes back into the engine block. At that point you do lose your filtration, but at least you still have oil flow. Now, this piece is attached obviously to this, but also to this bottom mounting piece via this rubber piece that has a lot of purposes. It kind of gives a connecting point and has a positive fit with that. Also does the same on this bottom piece, but I believe it also routes oil and keeps it so that incoming oil cannot just seep around and go right back out the exit holes. It has to be routed up through this filter, through the filter, back down and out. There's your oil filter. Now, yes, incredibly complex, but also kind of chintzy. And I'm not just getting at Mopar filters here because I've taken apart a bunch and they're all kind of like this. Some have more or less of these ribs. I've seen some that have wire to give extra stability there. Those are the things that are going to, differentiate a $5 filter from a $12 filter. But when I say chintzy overall, just in general, the amount of work this does for your engine and how catastrophic it can be if it fails. I mean, imagine if some of this paper broke off and found a way to migrate down through here and now it's clogging up your oil galleys. That's terrifying and you're just holding this crappy little paper filter. So that's all there is to it, man. There's your oil filter. Any questions? Let me comment down in the squawk boxes. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.